Lynchburg Live. I'm your host, Linda Smith. My guests tonight are Paula and Chris McNutt. Earlier this year, they were part of a mission trip to Guatemala with the women's ministry from Thomas Road Baptist Church. That's what they're here to tell us about tonight. But before we begin, I want you to know that this mission is not their first helping endeavor. Both Paula and Chris are registered nurses who work in the operating room at Lynchburg General Hospital, which is certainly a helping profession. They've also been involved locally with Habitats for Humanity, Gleaning for the World, and child sponsorship through Compassion International. So it's not surprising that they have extended their caring to help those affected by poverty in Guatemala. Paula, Chris, I'm just delighted to have you on my show.
We're happy to be here.
Yeah,
Great.
we're glad to be here. Thank you.
Can you tell me, as we get started, how did you become involved in helping services even before you learned about Guatemala?
Well, for starters, we have projects in Appomattox and in Concord, like Gleaning for the World. We've
Right.
helped package supplies and clothing and medical supplies and stuff like that for Gleaning for the World. And Habitat for Humanity, like you said, things like that. And
It just makes you feel good to do stuff, I think, to know that you're helping people who are less fortunate. Had you done mission work at all outside the United States before this Guatemala mission?
No, this is the first time.
All right, you told me, Chris, that you all are members of Mount Comfort United Methodist Church in Appomattox.
that's true.
Okay, how did you end up on a mission trip with the women's ministry from Thomas Road Baptist Church?
Well, I have been attending Bible study at Thomas Road Baptist Church for many years, and when I heard about this missions trip, I knew that it was something that I wanted. It was something I'd wanted to do for many years. I wasn't sure that they were going to let Chris go since it was a women's ministry, but other men did go, and he was able to go with us.
Do you know what led the church originally to focus on Guatemala as a mission?
Well, I think that what led them is World Help. World Help actually attends church. You know, the owners or the founders, Vernon Brewer and Noel, they're actually members of Thomas Road Baptist Church. So I think that, they are the ones that led Thomas Road to Guatemala. And Thomas Road has a mission this year to send out a large number of people out of the country on missions. So I think that's why it started there.
I think it's just such a great thing. When was your trip?
February.
February. I couldn't remember if you had told me February or March. And how long did you stay?
We were there for just under a week.
Did you use your vacations from the hospital?
We did.
I didn't know if they gave you special time off.
No, they didn't.
No,
We used our vacation, but it was worth it.
Vacation.
Yeah.
How many people approximately went on this mission with you?
It was 45.
That's a lot.
It was a lot.
Mostly women, and then some of the helpers from World Help came with us.
Is this the trip that Jonathan Falwell went on as well?
It
Yes.
was.
All right, Thomas Road partnered with several other organizations to make this trip possible. Can you tell us who they were and what roles they played?
Well, World Help, of course, you know, we
Right.
mentioned earlier. They actually helped Thomas Road and the women's ministry plan the trip. They planned the itinerary and what we were going to do, along with Hope of Life, that is actually the ministry in Guatemala. Hope of Life is like, you know, an enclosed compound, so to speak, that has an orphanage, an elderly home, infant rescue. They're currently building a hospital, which you'll see. They also have the missionary housing that we stayed in. But World Help is who planned the trip for us and, you know, got our plane tickets and let us know everything that we needed to do beforehand, like passports and vaccinations and things like that.
Did somebody donate goods or clothing or something?
Well, J. Crew.
J. Crew is who I was.
Yeah, they actually, one of the CEO, or not CEOs, but vice presidents of J. Crew was able to go on this trip, and they donated a lot of clothing for us to distribute while we were there. Yeah. And also Gleaning for the World, you know, help package those clothing and send.
Now, these missions, how are they funded as far as your travel goes?
Well, I think most everyone paid for it themselves, but our church, since we are from Mount Comfort, and we were the only two that went from our church actually funded it for us to go.
I think that's wonderful. I really do
it
think
was, and we
that's
really
wonderful.
did not know that they were going to, we really had no idea that they were going to do that. We were just trusting God to provide the funds for us, and that's how it was provided.
I just think that's wonderful that your church came forward and did this. Now, Chris, you told me that your trip was one of humanitarian aid that had a three-part focus. Can you tell us what that was?
Well, first and foremost, it was, obviously humanitarian aid, which was handing out food and clothing and water, which are, essentials, and then love, of course, which we were able to provide to, like, the infants and the people that work there, the people that live there at the mission, the children at the orphanage, and lastly, it was informational, where we could learn more about what's out there for people to get involved with, just normal, ordinary people to get involved with.
And I think, too, that with Jonathan Falwell going, it allowed us to learn a whole lot more about the ministry, because
sure.
they were wanting him to know more about the ministry.
Right.
So that allowed us to, I think, to see a lot of things that maybe we wouldn't have normally seen, which I think has been a great blessing that we've been able to share with other people.
Oh, I think so. I mean, I really think so. All right. You told me that you worked in a variety of areas and in many capacities on this mission. I mean, I know you're registered nurses, but you didn't go down there as registered nurses, although I'm sure that helped you, in what you were doing. But can you just sort of tell me all these capacities you were in? What did you do?
Well, we actually were able to dedicate wells to villages that had never had clean water. We'll see a picture in a few minutes of a village where they bathed, cooked, got the water to cook, got the water to drink. Also, animals were bathing in the water.
Oh my goodness.
So this was the water they were used to having. Of course, they were sick, so we were able to dedicate wells. And this money was actually raised by Sunday schools at Thomas Road. The women's ministry raised money for a well that was dedicated while we were down there. We were also were handed out food at a warm meal to a village at a dump site, where they would actually go to collect things from the dump site. We were able to feed 1,300 to 1,400 children. And then we gave out food that was packaged, that would last a person, or if they have young children or a couple people, for 14 to 15 days. They would hand those out twice a month, and so we were able to be a part of that. We also went to the Infant Rescue Center and worked and held babies and fed babies and changed diapers. And we went to the orphanage and played with them and just loved on them. And we made necklaces with them and told them stories. And so it was just, in a lot of different ways, we were able to do a lot of different things.
Did you do anything in your capacity as nurses?
No.
You didn't?
The only thing is one day it was 110 degrees, so we had some people who were getting really hot and having heat strokes, so we helped a little bit with that. But really, no. But they are building a hospital down there, and we do hope to go back in that capacity.
Wonderful. Could you sort of just tell our audience, from dusk to dawn or whatever, if you could tell us what a normal day was like for you all?
Well, we got up in the morning and we would go down. The mission had a veranda type big area where we would go eat breakfast. And then after that, we would get into some vans, large vans. A couple of them carried most of us. And we went, the first day, we went to
the dump site.
That's right, the dump site, sorry. And that's where we fed the 1,300 to 1,400 children a warm meal. That was such a blessing. And
they get warm meals there every day. They get one meal a day, which is their food for that day. They get one meal a day, 6 days a week at the dump site, and then they move on Sundays. They move the feeding center up to the church, and they get a warm meal at the church then.